Our guest today on Meinl Radio is Meinl cymbals artist Greyson Nekrutman. Greyson is relatively new to the Meinl family, having joined our squad of killers a little under a year ago. I stumbled across Greyson like so many have on Instagram, and like so many others, my jaw hit the floor and I wondered what the heck just happened. If you're not familiar with Greyson, just search his name on Instagram and check out the content that he posts on his page. Once you get past his sheer joyous physical assault on the drums, you'll notice the subtleties that make Greyson such a treat to watch. Subtleties that come from him being a musician that's an absolute student of his craft. During our conversation for this podcast, Greyson told me that he researches his drumming heroes as much as he can. And not just the usual anthropological dig that a drummer may do on a hero, but he tries to find people that had a connection to said hero so that he can learn more. His thinking is that if you know what made a person tick, if you can get into that person's space a bit more, then you can really find your way into their musical skin even better and pick up even more from them. It's devotion like that that makes Greyson such a gem. When you watch Greyson, you'll immediately be floored by his chops. I mean, he has chops for days. But like anyone truly dedicated to his craft, he's been putting in the time to make those chops happen. That's another key component to Greyson, his unrelenting discipline. His work ethic is what has allowed him to make so many large gains. I mean, who runs a quarter of a marathon in the morning and then another quarter of a marathon in the afternoon every day? Not many, but Greyson does. The last thing I'll tell you about Greyson before we head over to my conversation with him, and I actually think this is the least important aspect, is that he's young. Greyson just started his first year of college, attending the new school, albeit in an online format at this time due to COVID. All that to say, Greyson is making gains in his craft at such a young age that it really blows people's minds. It did mine, initially, but once I started to get to know him, I realized that Greyson's really just an old soul, as well as a very disciplined person. Those two traits allowed him to see that in order to get where he wanted to be, there was no time for fooling around. He personifies making the most of every minute of the day. All right, with that, I'll quit my yapping. Let's get on to the podcast. I would like to welcome everybody into the Meinl Radio podcast. Today we have a really special treat. We've got all the way up in Long Island, right?
Yep, Long Island.
Yep. Long Island, New York. We've got Greyson Nekrutman here. Greyson, thanks for being on the show, buddy.
Chris, you're the man. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Man, I'm going to lob just some different questions and things at you and see what you think about all this. In no particular order. Mm-hmm. So now I'm just going to take a wild guess here, but I imagine that whatever it is you're pursuing, you go pretty hard on. I mean, you're just, like you go way in. Is there anything that you're just plain lazy about and there's no getting around it?
Oh, wow. Well, it used to be exercise. And then it was kind of I guess a lot of people can relate just to drums too, but it was almost like the things I was bad at, I was lazy about. So at first it was exercise and running and all that. And then eventually that switched once I actually started to get better at it, to be honest with you. Man, nowadays, I'm trying to think, maybe trivial things. I wake up, I have to remind myself, put away the clothes, make the beds easy. My mom always gets mad. She's like, put the clothes away, don't just put them on the floor. But I'm trying to think. Cooking, I'm not lazy about. Sometimes I am. Practicing is a whole different world. Not lazy on the drums. No, I can't think of anything other than like putting the clothes away. Those like stupid little things. Other than that, no.
Well, you said something that was kind of interesting. You said that up until you started getting good, like achieving some level of skill at exercise, you were pretty bad at it. I have to assume, given your level of skill, let's say at the drums, that you know a thing or two about the art of practicing. So if maybe you haven't even thought about this, but I'd like to get like your just first instinct. What is it about learning something that makes you kind of put it off until you finally see something? It's almost like counterintuitive. It's like if you know you can't wait to get good,
Yep. Yeah. Well, I've experienced this a lot recently with, it's a small thing, but with making some of the videos, I'll have an idea, and I'll say, wow, this would be a really, really good idea to post. And then I'm not going to go downstairs that second sometimes and make it, because the reason that's putting me off, as we're talking about a little bit, is this one cycle that I don't know if I'll ever come to enjoy this, and I don't think there's any way to. Of you're getting so close, and actually this last video I made, I actually I made it a point to avoid this as best I could, was rushing to the end. And what I mean by that is, for a while there, I would practice a video, practice a recording, if I'm working or whatever, to like 75 to 80, maybe 90% for my happiness of completion level. I'm satisfied with it. And if it wasn't something like I'm in a studio where it's time and et cetera, if I'm at home and I have nothing else to do, I would put on record and leave my phone recording for like an hour straight. Meaning I would think, okay, I'm going to record it once. Oh, no, I messed up that take. Let me try it again. And it would be like an hour and a half. And I realized it was just kind of my ego saying, oh, we're ready to make it. Oh, we're ready. Mm. And once I took that into account of like, wow, it's not ready yet. Just do it slower. Make it so it only takes 1 or 2 takes. Once I realized that kind of put me off to like some of these ideas, because I was like, I don't want to go back into that cycle of, oh, we're so close. Oh, I messed up that one fill. Because if I think about that was the one thing that was putting me off of practicing those ideas or making a video in general. And I think once I started, more recently, coming to that conclusion of just take it slow and have a conscious effort to finish it within 1, 3, 5 takes, I had the confidence of saying, okay, I already know it's concise, it's clean, it's ready. Instead of, oh, let's just, I think I got it. Oh, come on, push it out, grind it out. No. Again.
Did you ever wonder before maybe you got to this point of knowing, seeing what you were doing, did you ever wonder if, you're just getting going in your career, things are getting started, but let's say fast forward down the road, you wind up in recording studios, and it's people's money, it's people's time.
Yep.
And did you ever wonder while you were sitting at home with the luxury of take 1, take 10, take 20, did you ever think to yourself, man, maybe this might not be good for eventually? Maybe one thing I should practice is trying to nail this in 2 takes.
That's exactly what I was trying to do. And that's what I realized was even from my own thing, because, I had always done it when I was working in a studio before Corona, and even now when I'm at home. That's a different story. When it's like that, I understand the responsibility in that take, but it was almost, it actually goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning about laziness. It was almost, I was putting that work in a different category as my videos or my own recordings. So my own recordings or own videos or whatever you want to call it was coming second priority to the other work, which it is. But for me, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good habit to put that as secondary, because I was getting in a habit of doing this. So I realized, wait a minute, I got to treat this just like anything else. Once I started doing that, it clicked, and I love it now. So that was almost another thing of, hey, I didn't like doing it until I got better at it.
Interesting. Well, I have another question about practice. So you practice for how many hours a day?
Oh, well, right now I'm going to school. I would say on average 8 hours a day is probably the average right now with everything going on.
Is that cumulatively, or is that in one stretch?
It's usually 2 stretches, 2 to 3 stretches throughout the day.
So personally, I find that I find that due to the moving meditation of playing music, that when I am practicing, I find myself getting sort of, for lack of a better word, sleepy. Now, kind of like when you're actually meditating, for those of you out there who have ever tried meditation, and you approach that very relaxed state, there's like this hump you have to get over that just seems like what you know is sleepiness. I have to work really hard to get past that sleepy barrier so that my brain stays sharp and then I can be in the zone and at the same time cognizant of the mechanics of what I'm practicing. So, how do you stay energized during such long practice sessions? And how do you stay very focused?
So, for me, I had a similar issue, especially when I started practicing more, I want to say open concepts, as in it's not like a one bar thing. It might be a overall arching kind of project, if you know what I mean. Practicing a whole piece, not just an exercise. I was realizing, hey, I'm going to slow it down. Okay, so I spent an hour, whatever it is, doing it slow. And that sleepiness started to creep up on me, as you're talking about, and I realized, well, what can I do? I realized, all right, let me try it a little faster. Let me try it towards performance, tempo, whatever it may be. Just that little switch, trying at different tempos, and it sounds simple, but for me that works. So if I'm practicing, as I said, a piece, a video, a transcription, whatever, I'll do it slow. And then if I start getting, quote unquote, bored of it, I'll go, okay, if I'm at 75%, let me put it to 85. All right, I could get 90% of it. There's a 10%. Let me take wherever that 10% issue was, bring it back down to 75 and just practice that until I could get up to 85%. Then there's another part of it where that sleepiness and that whole thing, I honestly think it's beneficial sometimes to walk away. I've heard a lot of people talk about that in the past, and I thought, oh, that's nothing. I tried it and it worked. I said, let me go away, let me do something else, I'll do this after class, or I'll do this after whatever, and sure enough, click. Or it might not be click, it might be another hour of practice and then click. But I think switching it up tempo-wise and keeping yourself refreshed in, all right, let me take a break, let me go get something to eat, come back downstairs and try it again, is the key.
Oh, yeah. It's an age-old trick of just walking away from something. I mean, literally the shift in perspective, having that new, fresh perspective helps so much. I mean, dude.
One of the biggest things for me was, I remember I was making a couple of videos probably a month back, and I was getting hung up on these, like, 2 fills, and I remember I'm dripping in sweat. And I get up, and I go to plug in my computer, because I didn't have it plugged in, so I had to go to, like, the other room, grab my charger, and just that little, probably 10-minute stretch off the drum set, I came back and got it. And I'm not saying that 10-minute stretch made a difference, but I wasn't as tense, because you get all tensed up and agitated. I got up, I came back. The sticks feel refreshed. Everything feels refreshed. Even just standing up and walking out of the room, coming back, the sticks feel different. You wipe off some sweat. You start again.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I get that. Now, switching a little bit, I'm curious about some aspects of your experiences with social media. What mistakes have you made on social media?
Oh boy. Well, this is a doozy of a topic. So I think a lot of people, especially in the music world or any world for that matter, there's kind of 2 ways people use social media that I see, especially in the drum community, or in the music community in general. There's people who view it as a business opportunity. Then there's people who view it as their personal kind of log of work or photos, whatever it may be. It might be a blog. And of course, there's ranges in between, mix it up with personality stuff. In the beginning, I was actually doing the social media stuff with my mother. She got me into it. Let a shout out to my mom. She's listening. So she would post it all, and I'd send it to her, and she'd be like, Greyson, go make a video. And I'd be like, not interested. I didn't know the power of it. So once I started getting into it and getting, oh, wow, this actually has an impact. The mistake I made for me was, and this is going to sound very controversial, and hey, it is. I was posting what only I wanted to hear and see. Now, some people will say that's all you should post. Hey, That's up to them. Everyone has their own thing. For me, what my goal was of building my brand, building my name, notoriety, etc., just because I wanted to play a really slow musical tune that I just love the melody of, yet it got 3 views, that wasn't helping me. So the mistake of me was, I'm posting because I just like this song. Once I switched it and I said, what is going to get me a benefit? What is the work to benefit ratio? So if that work to benefit ratio becomes more of enjoyment to whatever, if it becomes a little bit more enjoyment, that's fine. But for me, it was, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm viewing it as a job. It's a thing I'm doing, so I have an output. Some days not everyone wants to go to work. There's days people want to sit on the couch. There's some days I don't want to make a video. Why do I make a video? Because I know it's important to me. It's important to my career. And once I started viewing it as if I put in some work and I sweat and I might make a video that's tougher than I feel comfortable with playing, but I push myself and sweat and whatever to make it, there's a benefit to that.
Yeah, no, I get that. I've really not enjoyed it when I've been to concerts before for an artist that I'm really pumped to see. And then when I go there, the artist decides to play pretty much nothing that you want to hear. Now,
exactly.
There's a couple of schools of thought, and I can see them definitely from both angles. There's the school of thought of, well, this guy's an artist. I mean, people take the word artist quite seriously, as do I.
Yep.
And so that artist has a statement to make. It's their show. But then again, the show wouldn't have happened if the people hadn't bought tickets and came to the show.
Exactly.
So there's got to be a little bit of give and take, I would think. Like, let's be polite. Let's listen to their exploration. But you got to give these paying customers a little bit of what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that. Now, let me ask this as well about socials. So, putting it very bluntly, I guess, what's the long game? What's its purpose for you as a drummer?
So to be honest with you, if I hadn't posted on, well, there's another thing we might get to in the future of this later on, but if I hadn't done something before that, and then something happened, which we might get into, and if that hadn't forced me to post videos like a madman, honestly, I would not be in the place I am today. I'm working with people I couldn't imagine working with. I'm talking to people who I couldn't imagine talking to. But that doesn't mean when I'm 28 years old, I'm going to be sitting in my basement making a video a day, trying to push myself to the absolute max in my basement. Hey, it might. I don't think so. Really, it was a tool, and it is a tool to get my name out there, as blunt as that is. It wasn't for me to post pictures of my dog or, hey, I'm eating this today. It was, hey, here's my drumming. If you need a gig and you need me to play, here's my email. That's how I'm going to get my name out there. Chris, yourself, you found me through Instagram. That's a perfect example. I would never be working with Meinl or, for that matter, any company. I mean, I couldn't envision... 4 years ago, if you told me I'd be working with you or anybody, I'd say, how? How would they find me? They're going to come to Long Island, New York at some random club? I don't think so. It's not going to happen. It's not the 50s and 60s anymore where endorsements were found from somebody coming, seeing you in a club. That's just the truth of it. There wasn't really a scene where I was that was conducive to getting my name outside of this state, to be honest with you, of New York. And I realized, hey, I'm going to push this and milk this to the farthest extent that I can. Now, I think personally, when the world opens up, whatever, I'm touring, I'm going to be posting photos of, hey, I'm in tour here, come see this. I'm not going to be posting videos of me playing covers or transcriptions. I'll throw that in for fun, but really at that point it's more of, you can come follow me on my journey. And the people that have followed me thus far have been there every step of the way. There's some people that comment all the time, hey, I remember watching you when you had 10,000 followers and you had a completely different basement, and that means a lot when the people are stick around. And I can only imagine, I post a photo of a tour bus in 26. Hey, I remember you when you were in your basement playing Buddy Rich covers in 2021. So I think it's just going to be an evolving thing, but honestly become less of a focus of my career as it goes on.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it has to be said, there's still a couple of ways of looking at socials. It can be just sort of like the personal press release, and I don't mean this in a business sense. I just mean that, whatever, the soccer moms that want to show how perfect their life is, and, oh, look at all this, look at all that, isn't all this great? And okay, that's fine, whatever. I'm not... It sounds judgy what I'm saying, but it's not. It's just the way people do it.
Exactly.
So there's that, and then people sometimes apply that sort of way of looking at socials to when they're doing what you're doing, but you're not doing that. You're just using it as a launch pad for awareness, which is entirely a business thing.
Exactly.
And you're using it as the tool that it can be, which I totally get.
Yep.
And you're right. We never would have ended up working together had I not stumbled upon you on Instagram.
Yep.
So it worked out great for both of us.
It really did. I remember when I kind of made that switch from what you're talking about, the soccer mom kind of thing. I'd post photos of my dog. I'd post photos of. I remember I was playing and he was like in the background, and then it was photos of me and I guess it was like a school event or something. I'd post videos. That was years ago. And then I switched it to, I kind of want to separate my personal life and my career life. And that was a big deal. And I got a lot of blowback from that, from personal people, friends, family, of, whoa, like, what, why is there like such a drastic change? It's a reality. When you have a large following, and grant you, I don't have the great, largest following, but it's pretty large for who I am. There's other consequences that come along with all the great stuff. So I do keep my family out of it. I keep all my personal things out of it. And that just comes along with viewing it as a business. You don't give out your personal phone number when you're in a business. You give out what? Your business phone number, your business address. I treat it the same way.
Now, moving on a little bit. When I see videos of you playing along with Hendrix or Zeppelin, you play it like a person that grew up on rock. Now, that's not a very common thing for someone who's so steeped in the traditions of jazz. How do you reconcile the physiology of playing both so convincingly?
That's a big compliment. I really appreciate it. So I started playing a little bit of everything, and I give a big shout out to my first teacher, Justin Gallo. And he instilled in me from the age of, I started at 4. I'd say he probably started at 5 when he instilled this, and I understood it. He could teach me one thing, and he could show me how to be a rock drummer for playing all these rock beats deeper and deeper and deeper. But as small as it sounds, we had all these different drum books we'd go through, but he wouldn't go through the whole book. And for a while, I thought that was kind of weird. I was like, well, why are we stopping? And then he would pull out another book, and this one might be jazz oriented or whatever it may be. And that little thing meant something to me, and it was kind of interesting because it would be a Latin book, a jazz book. And he explained to me that we want to be as well-rounded as we can be. And so at the time, I was really into rock and progressive rock and all that, and I got into the Dave Matthews Band. I became a Carter Beauford addict. Knew every song, lyric, everything, you name it. Set up lefty, was playing open-handed lefty for, I think 2 years straight, or a year straight. It was crazy. And then eventually was practicing all that, yet started to become aware of what jazz was. And of course, Justin gave me a background of this, but my brother's a saxophone player, and he kind of exposed me to this stuff. And at first, I wasn't into it. Because honestly, I think a lot of people are given a perception of jazz as this really quiet, mellow music with just piano and the drums are brushes and, oh wow, a drummer sweats during jazz? That doesn't exist. And once I started to learn of these other drummers, I was kind of like, this is something different. So I started delving into the big band stuff and the jazz stuff, yet still playing and having fun with the other music. And when it came to the Instagram stuff, I was posting all the other styles. Then I started posting jazz, and I realized that jazz was something that, honestly, nobody else was doing. Maybe there were a couple, but they weren't doing it to that extent. And I said, well, I'm going to milk it. I'm going to milk this opportunity. I started posting all jazz videos, and then I used the rock and my rock chops and my gospel chops and whatever you want to call them to kind of freak people out a little bit, to be honest with you, a little bit like, kind of like a comment machine of, whoa, I didn't know you could do this. Whoa, versatile. Like that's like the goal is like, let's just scare people. Let's just, little jab. I can also do this. And it worked. It worked. And I started posting those Hendrix videos for fun. And 90% of the comments were, I didn't know you played this. I didn't know you played other styles. And then I started posting Tool videos. And then as a kind of a joke, but I guess not, I posted a Tool video recently in a suit. And that freaked people out because you'll look at it and you think, oh, he's about to play another big band tune. Nope, it's a Tool drum solo. Ticks and leeches in a suit. And it was a complete, like, what? What?
Yeah.
What is this?
Well, what I like about it is, and I get that. I mean, I think your teacher Justin did a really good job at the idea of we need to be well-rounded as a musician. Mm-hmm. Going a little bit deeper, I tend to notice things about people, like I listen to their accents, even the smallest of accents, and maybe I can tell that, oh, this guy who lives in Southern California, his grandparents actually came from Wisconsin, and or I look at the physiology of someone, the way that they'll play. Maybe it's the way they hunch, the way they lay back, the way their arms or shoulders are, and you can tell that they spent some time being a fan of this drummer or that drummer. And I think in order to be able to sound convincing in a style, in a way, you sometimes need to emulate the physicality of the drummer that made that style originally sound so deep.
1,000%.
If that makes sense.
It makes 100% sense. And a lot of people mention that when they talk about what I'm doing, because it's almost like, oh, he a lot of people throw the word reincarnated, and it's a joke, and it's like, oh, all right, whatever. But what I will say as not a joke is, honestly, I try to almost channel, and it sounds kind of funny, but it's not. If I'm playing a Sonny Payne video, if you don't know who Sonny Payne is, he's very underrated, unfortunately. Please look the man up. I'm not gonna play a song that he recorded. I'm not going to play it like, you name it. I'm not going to play it like a Nate Smith style. If you do that, it's completely fine. If you want to play a different style, or be, if you want to kind of just be your own personality but play a song, hey, that's for you. But I feel like if you completely ignore all elements of a particular style, you're kind of leaving something there. Now, Sonny was a very personality-driven drummer, showmanship, throwing the sticks, twirling, all that stuff. He played some crazy fast stuff. Now, if you played that music on a video, recording, whatever, with a straight face, and you sat down really small and in your chair and kind of like hunched over, and you didn't smile, and you didn't you didn't use your whole arm for the stroke, you kind of just moved your wrist to each drum. Sorry, but it's not even close. Now, the same goes for you name it, whatever drummer you want. If you're playing Carter Beauford, you're not going to play it like Sonny Payne, and they're completely different. So I think there's an element of you kind of need to understand where that drummer was coming from, and that's also something that I feel is really valuable. So during this pandemic, I've been calling people, literally calling people, and Chris, you're one of them. Hey, do you know anybody who met blah, blah, blah? Now, a lot of people have looked at me and thought, well, why do you care? It's a lot deeper than just listening or watching them play. It really is. Because there's a lot of other elements that go into why somebody plays the way they do.
Oh, dude, I love it. You know what? You literally are speaking my language, because I'm such a fan of history, and I know that it's all the subtle nuances that makes something what it is known for historically.
Yep.
A red letter date is not a red letter date without these 10 million mitigating circumstances swirling around, bam, and suddenly it's that red letter date. Same goes for a person, same goes for a style, the way that person played. So without naming names, I know what you're talking about. You asked me about so-and-so. I put you in touch with so-and-so who knew so-and-so. And,
Exactly.
And now it makes total sense as to why, because you were doing as much of a deep dive, not just on listening to the music, with this person, but just getting to know everything about them. I love that. I love that so much.
I love it. I mean, when I listen, like Sonny is the greatest example. But there's also other people, Art, and there's a ton of drummers. The personality aspect, and Count Basie actually quoted this in his book, and I don't want to mess up the quote, but basically he said along the lines of, you couldn't hear Sonny's stick twirling on those records. And a little side note, he actually, as to kind of a dig to all the other people in the band, he would actually throw the sticks up while they were recording just to mess with everybody, which I thought was hilarious. He was like a jokester. But you could feel it. If you watch videos of that guy, it's ridiculous. The energy, the passion, he's going to take as many chances as he wants, and you can't tell him otherwise. That attitude of, I'm going to play the way I want to play, and if you don't like it, I don't care, was a big thing. And I think if you kind of found a drummer, and thankfully I grew up in an era where I can watch on YouTube, but of course there were VHS back in the day and TV specials. But if you listen to a drummer you really love, and you're like, I really want to play like them, the biggest advice, two things. If you want to play like somebody, or you want to, learn elements from them, who were they listening to? Who were they watching?
Yeah, dude, that's
and the other
important.
one is those players, the players you look up to and the players that they look up to, find videos, as many as you can. There's only a couple. Sonny, there's only probably, I've only found probably 10 good ones that I've rewatched about 1,000 times. There's a ton of Buddy Rich ones. There's tons of Carter Beauford ones. Some people have more or less. And watch them. Sound off, sound on. It doesn't matter. Because when these people are, shrugging their shoulders, and, Sonny does this thing where he kind of winds up for a single stroke roll. He kind of pulls his shoulders back and up and his elbows up and really leans into it. You can't see that on a record, but you can hear it. But if you don't see what they're doing and you don't see how they're achieving that sound, you might not get it right. That's just the truth of it. If you were playing, if you were trying to play a Buddy Rich drum solo with, match grip, which you totally could, yet trying to do one of his single handed rolls, and you couldn't really figure out what he was doing, maybe it's because he was doing something that's just not possible the way maybe you set up your drum set, or you don't have, there's so many different factors. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of elements that you can hear them, but you won't fully comprehend what you're hearing unless sometimes you see it. Yeah.
No, that's so important. And your first point is just as important too. Know who your heroes listened to. I mean, for me, being, my family almost jokes with me that I'm just maybe a step or two short of being not literally, but kind of like an ethnomusicologist for rock and roll, because I love the culture and the history of it and all the disparate elements that went into making it. And so, for years I'm listening to, like, a hero of mine was the slide guitarist Duane Allman from the Allman Brothers. And then one day, I don't know what happened, but just something kind of tickled this thought in me, and I went, okay, I got to start listening to T-Bone Walker. I got to start listening to Muddy Waters and Elmore James. And then once I found recordings and once I saw some videos of some of those guys, I mean, dude, it made my understanding of Duane Allman even that much deeper. So yeah, it really matters. And it's important too, because you'll find that some of those guys were that's ground zero. That's where it all began. Now, this ties in totally with a question I had. Obviously, you've got to know your musical roots to be worth your salt. But for you, I want to know, like, as far as like what you listen to and enjoy musically with your heroes. How far back does your current listening go to as far as a decade? Are you listening to, and I know you probably listen to things in the 40s, are you listening to old scratchy recordings from the 30s, or even like field recordings from the 20s, or what are you listening to?
For me, the biggest thing right now is listening to those kind of, sorry to say it, but almost forgotten drummers, they're considered. And the reason I say that is a lot of people don't talk about them. Sid Catlett, Buddy Catlett, there's all these people. I'm trying to think, Sonny Greer. There's all these people, and if you just look these people up, even Gene Krupa, and I know that sounds, well, he's not forgotten, but a lot of people think of Buddy Rich. Well, he looked up to who? People before him. So people like Gene Krupa, people like Davy Tuff. I'm trying to think, all those guys, the 30s recordings, the 40 recordings is really interesting to me. And then what's even more interesting is, like, say, take the Count Basie Orchestra. I'm not too into listening to, like, the 80s, like the newer recordings, the 70s recordings of them. I want to listen to the recordings of when it was Papa Joe Jones and Gus Johnson and all those older guys back in the day. Sonny Igo, Jack Sperling, all these older big band drummers who you don't really hear about nowadays. And you watch some of the videos, and I don't remember which drummer it was. It might have been Sonny Greer. I watched him, and I said, that's the exact trick that Sonny Payne just did in a video I watched 5 seconds ago. Now I know where he's getting this from. And that connection kind of clicked. And then I said, wait a minute, let me dive a little deeper in here and see what else I can find. And it kind of just continues to go back and just deeper and deeper of this person connects to that person and this person listens to that person. And that also brings me to the point of, a lot of people ask me, who are your favorite modern jazz drummers? I get that comment so often on my Instagram, so often. And they mention a lot of names, who I won't mention. And I usually don't respond, or sometimes I do. And it's, I love these guys. But honestly, they're almost my generation. And the people that are just listening to them, and that are some of these more modern guys are claiming that things they're doing, they may have created or came up with, or kids my age, 18, 19-year-old kids and younger, are attributing, hey, this lick from blah, 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 this person might be in their 50s, 40s, 30s. No offense, but a lot of the stuff they didn't create. They're simply doing what I'm talking about right now. And it's almost a big disservice to claim you created something you didn't. All these, some of the tricks I do in my videos and, cool big band fills, you ask me where I got it, I'll tell you straight up. I stole it from this recording of this person, this drummer. That's why I do the video in videos. Is because you see exactly where I pull these things from. Exactly. I didn't invent the single, hand roll with the accents on your bass drum in your right hand. Buddy Rich did.
Yeah.
And if I claimed it was mine, I might be able to trick some kids who are younger than me. But what is that doing? What's the benefit in that?
Right.
So when I hear kids my age talking about drummers of kind of this generation, who are now maybe the 90s to early 2000s, and then those people just kind of accept it and take it as a compliment of, yeah, I love, yeah, thank you. It's like, but where'd you get that from? Don't do that. That's terrible, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I keep my opinions to myself on the people, but it's sad sometimes. It really is sad.
Well, you mentioned something that I wanted to ask you about. So you talked about your video within a video, where you can tell you're watching a screen and you're just going along with the dude, emulating even just his crossovers, everything he does. So we've talked about it before, but I want you to tell everybody here about it. Now, tell us about your photographic memory, how you discovered. Tell us all how you discovered it and how it serves you.
That's like the copy and paste question on my Instagram. I just have like a
really?
keyboard.
So you've answered
I'm kidding.
You've answered this a million times.
No, it's funny because people ask, how I do it, and I tell them. So I'll give you the detailed explanation for all the people that are coming from Instagram to listen to this. There you go. When I was in high school math, now when I was a kid, I didn't have. Who knows? I'm not claiming I have like the photographic memory where you can bring me in an airplane and I can paint the city. No, I can't do that. But I remember I was in high school math, and I was always good at the type of math where it was kind of like the plug-in and solve formulas, where it was like you got 3 formulas and the test consisted of just solving problems that had to deal with like 3 formulas only, or even like chemistry. It's because I would just remember what it looked like. And I realized I was really good at that too. Like I would get the test, and the first thing I would do is I'd write down all the formulas on the right side of the paper and then just mix, just match them, and I'd get 100 because I just remembered it. I didn't study 18 hours for that test, to be honest with you. I didn't study a lot for those sometimes. I just remembered what they looked like and I plugged them in. And then I realized, oh, this chemistry formula looks like that. Oh, wait, what does it look like? It has a C and then an O, and then it goes up to this. Oh, that's, So I would just remember it, and I realized, I have a pretty good memory. No, I was never good at, you couldn't bring me in a room and tell me, all right, let's look at around the room, go out and draw it. I can't do that. So it's kind of weird. I digress, but I got to making these videos and playing, and I realized I had a pretty good memory of tunes, meaning you could play me a tune, big band tune, whatever it may be, whatever tune, and I would remember like the form and the, not like AABA, but like, all right, there's like 4 like breaks and then, 2-bar break here and blah, blah, blah. But it was pretty rough at first. So it's almost like I developed it, which I don't know if that's even possible. I don't really care, but I did pretty much develop it or make it, better with practice. So then I realized when I started learning to transcribe, I was taught like a lot of people are. All right, you like this fill? Okay, now take out music staff paper and write out the little drags and the roughs. And I remember my brother trying to teach me how to transcribe. And we were hanging over my snare drum, and I played a recording, and he said, oh, that's like a ba-da-dum, ba-da-da, like. We went for like 5 minutes, and I said, oh, that's enough. I'm done. He left. I put on the recording, and it went jump, lump, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I played it back. Now, it wasn't just because I was a genius or whatever. No, it's because I realized, okay, that's a rough. That's 3 roughs in a row, and then he went to the tom, and then he did a little thing on the cymbal. So then I said, okay, well, what if I thought about it like sounds funny, but geographic areas almost. The snare drum is like a town. You got the town of the tom, you got the town of the cymbal, whatever. So then I started doing it to these videos, and I realized that, it's not like when I watch a video, all of a sudden I have like a video imprinted in my mind. It's not like that at all. What it is I will tell you the exact order of it. I'll tell you, okay, he started on the snare, then he did a little crossover, then he hit the cymbal, then he went back to the snare, and I break it down from there. You could give me a tune, and I could play it back to you with the form and all in 1 or 2 listens. I mean, if I was in a big band situation, there was another drummer, I didn't need the sheet music. I could listen to them play once or twice, get up there and play it. Because I knew where the breaks were, because I just remembered it. So with these videos, I realized that's a pretty cool thing for a video. Let me put the other drummer there. So as an example, I did one today, and I actually didn't post the video in video. It was just me playing. But a lot of people always ask, well, how do you know when the music comes back in? Because I just remembered how many geographic areas and how many basically bullet points of this solo or song there are. And I just map it out in my mind almost. It's kind of like a map. You think of each drum set as a different area. And when I give people lessons and I teach them and they ask me about this, I tell them that exact thing. I don't care if it's right, left, or left, right, or he's using molar there and then he switches to fingers. I don't care. What I'm going to focus on is think about it way bigger. Think about it. Okay, what part of the drum set he's on in the beginning? He's on the snare drum. Okay. Well, look how far you got already. You're already a quarter of the way there instead of going to staff paper and writing, 2 eighth notes and then a 16th note. Is that very good for academic type learning situations? Maybe you want to break down a particular person's use of triplets in the bar lines. Great. But if you want to learn somebody's phrasing and their way of playing, their language, as some people call it, I honestly do not find any value in writing that out. Because what is the benefit of writing out somebody's transcription to learn the way they play? Because now you just put it on a piece of paper, and I could show it to my mom, and if she played drums, she played trumpet. But if she played drums, she could play that. Doesn't mean she's going to sound like Buddy Rich just because I wrote it on a piece of paper. And I spent 8 hours, by the way, writing on a piece of paper. Instead, I could listen to it 3 times and say, oh, he went, whatever. That's way more effective for building your own vocabulary, in my opinion, than writing it out. So that's my little rant on transcribing.
No, that's good to know. And you talked about your brother. You said his name is Noah, right?
I have two. My brother Gabe and my brother Noah.
So which one's the one that plays sax?
Gabe.
Okay. Does your other brother play?
He played piano when he was very little, but he doesn't play any instruments now.
Okay.
Yep.
So your brother that plays sax. Now, in the music world, you've got famous brother duos. You've got the Brecker brothers. You've got the Van Halen brothers. There's a few others as well. We won't get into the details, but so I'm curious about you guys. Like, how do you guys click musically when he's not trying to whip you into transcribing stuff, but like literally when you're just playing together? It's okay. I mean, I want to put it out there that you're not talking smack about him if you say that there's nothing chemistry-wise there, but like, is there something there?
So, for a while there, when I started, I was not playing any jazz, as I mentioned. And then I started playing a little bit here and there. And then he started kind of getting me into it. And for a good chunk of time, we were playing together locally. And there kind of became a thing where we kind of just had 2 opposing views in a way. Of stylistic preferences. I'll leave it at that. And we kind of had a thing of, I play a certain way, you play a certain way. And I think it was just that we had, as a drummer, there's not many drummers comparatively to saxophone players. Well, in a group, there might be 5 saxophones and 1 drummer. So he had played around a lot of drummers. And there was kind of points where, brother to brother, we love each other. I love him, he loves me. We have a great relationship family-wise. But musically, there was a little thing of like, listen, I appreciate your criticism, but I think just to keep that brotherly love, we kind of need to just, you do your thing, I'll do my thing. We play together for fun now, but really like on a more professional level or working together. There's some times where you don't really want to mix that personal thing. It's almost like people talk about don't date your coworkers. Is that what it is? Or don't marry somebody in your same job, something like that.
Yeah, something
I always heard. It's kind of a similar thing where, hey, we have a great relationship as family, but the last thing I want to do is go on a gig and get in a fight with him over, hey, you played too loud, and then we go home and have an awkward dinner. That's the last thing I want to do.
Yeah.
So we play for fun, and when it's when there's nothing on the line, there's no issue. Because there's nothing to worry about. We're having fun. And I think that's like the greatest thing I can ask for is just we respect each other's playing. He plays a certain way, I play a certain way. And that's all I can really ask for.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, speaking of older musicians, maybe it's too soon to tell, but what's your interaction with older musicians been like? I mean, dude, you bring a skill set to the table that's not seen normally at your young age, and I know you hear that a lot, and I don't mean that the way it sounds. I mean, it's the way it is. So, like, when you get some guys who've been doing this for a long time, and they encounter somebody who, at the very least, has skill sets that are commensurate with theirs. I mean, yes, maybe they have more experience and some more like an older perspective, but you can bring the heat like they can. So what's it been like with those guys? Are they cool? Do you get a little weirdness from them?
That's a good question, Chris.
Thank you.
So I know. So, well, I've had mixed things. Now, I'll say this. Most recently, I couldn't ask for a better welcome, if you will, to the professional world of, quote-unquote celebrities, whatever you want to call it. I've been fortunate to talk to and work with some people I could never imagine working with currently. My manager himself and the people around him and the people he's introduced me to, it's like, wow. Now, that was not always the case of people kind of respecting what I did. When I was younger, I noticed something that kind of has become, I'm sure it goes for any job or any career, honestly, is there's an element of age kind of gives you like a certain level of ego. And what I mean by that is you kind of want to, a lot of people that are older and that play the same instrument, they might have a job title of teacher or professional drummer, whatever. And somebody might come to them who honestly is able to play at a very similar level. And again, like you said, might not have the experience, but can physically play like them. And they have a feeling inside of them for whatever happened to them in their life that they need to put the other person down. And kind of, quote unquote, they might need to put them in their place a little bit. That was the exact words uttered to me. Actually, uttered behind my back, I should say, by somebody. But, and that reason is not for a legitimate reason. It's because they want to kind of stroke their own ego of, hey, I'm the teacher. I'm the professional player. And I noticed something really funny. And this is a perfect story. So I played a solo. And I'm going to leave no details, so there's no identification. I played a solo at a certain something. And the person that was working with us, now mind you, the song was a very famous, jazz quartet tune. And I played note for note with my ability to play note for note solos. The drum solo from that record. Now, this might sound, terrible on my part, and, I did this just to see what would happen. I played that solo note for note from this was a drummer's, this was an Art Blakey tune. I played an Art Blakey solo note for note. About 5 seconds later after the tune said, I was told that it wasn't musical. It wasn't dynamically musical. I played too many notes. I this, I that, blah, blah, blah. But just, over and over. And that was the moment I realized sometimes it doesn't matter how you play. The issue is because you're younger and they're older. And that level of respect is not there. There's almost sometimes no respect. And it was really funny because then I said to myself, well, what if Art Blakey was here? Of course, I'm not claiming I play like Art Blakey. But what if Art Blakey was here and played it the same way I played it? You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying I'm Art Blakey by any means. But what if he played it the same way I played it now? But it was just because it's him. Would that person say the same thing? No, they wouldn't.
No, of course not. It wouldn't have mattered. I mean, it's fairly obvious. Have you encountered this a lot, or has it just been maybe on a couple of select occasions?
It was quite a few occasions, and then it got to the point, which it actually brings me to everything nowadays, is it was happening a lot. And I continually was told, you play either too much, you play too little, you play too much, you play too loud, you play too soft, you don't play enough, blah, blah, blah. So I actually got denied an audition to a music school for college. That's a fact that some people have known because I've said it before. The school remained nameless, yet I knew the person that were involved with the programs followed me on Instagram. The people around those people followed me on Instagram. And after that little thing, now mind you, I didn't even get an audition. Not get in. Like, I don't care. Like, if I hadn't gotten in, that's different. I didn't even get an audition. That's like, it's something different, man. And at least give me an audition. So I didn't get an audition. So I remember that night, I didn't play drums for about 2 days. And then I said, you know what? Pardon my language. I said, screw all of them. Screw all of them. I don't care how you think I play. I said this out loud. I said, I'm going to play the way I want to play. I don't give a crap what you think. You think I play too much? You think I play too little? I'm going to play the way I want to play. And if you have an issue with it, sorry, I don't care. Yeah. And that was the moment it clicked. And I started posting these videos as kind of like a little nudge to those exact individuals. And that sounds petty, but it wasn't actually like at them. It was a more like, okay, well, watch how successful I become because of what happened.
Yeah.
And
I mean, dude, yeah.
This is something I talk about, like in the beginning of the podcast. I said, that's what I was referencing when I said, well, something else happened. This was the something else. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be where I am today. Because I got so angry at those people, because it wasn't one school, it was actually two. It was two or three, actually. And the reasons were politics, as a lot of things are nowadays. Because I actually asked for kind of basic reasons of why am I playing. And honestly, they made zero sense. So I started posting these, and sure enough, it clicked. And that impact of just complete, I'm going to play the way I want to play. It just didn't stop. And that's I think that element of it eventually turned into the respect part, because that's more recently where the older people are saying, well, this is, you're giving a throwback to the older greats, you're doing this, you're doing that. And other people are respecting me. Do I think the same people that denied me in the past respect me? I don't know. Nor do I care, to be honest with you, because they're just difficult individuals. But no, I wish them all the best. But there's always going to be people who have something to say about you. There's always going to be people that don't like the way you play. And I don't need everybody to like the way I play. Nobody has everybody like the way they play. Everyone has haters. Everyone is judged for the way they play. But if I'm happy with the way I play and I know I'm putting it all out there, that's what matters. I know I'm playing, the hardest effort I possibly can. And that's all that matters to me. So if they said, you're playing too much, you're playing too loud, you're not musical, sorry, don't really care.
Yeah. No, it's it's interesting, though, because the shoe were on the other foot, it would sting them just as badly. I mean, I remember I've seen this before, that there's been guys who've been upset because they couldn't get an audition with a band because the band in their whatever the advertisement they put out there said must be between the ages of 20 and 30. And so a guy that was 35 who was a smoking player and a pretty cool dude, he thought, well, come on, what is this, ageism? So but then you turn it around and you put on the, I mean, so it's like you kind of, you can't have it both ways. I mean, there's guys that are going to get shut out because they're too old, but then those same old guys are going to shut out the young whippersnappers because they're threatened by them. So, yeah, it's kind of funny. Well, I'm curious. You had talked about at one point, about working with companies, and it's something you've not been able to do before until Instagram comes along.
Yeah.
Right now I'm talking about working with older people, or what's the reaction been? Clearly at drum companies, you're having to deal with some guys who have been around for a while. This is probably a question you're going to feel like you really can't answer honestly because it's going to, be used against you. But I really would love as honest of an answer as possible. What's your experience been like working with drum companies? Like, if you ask me, I feel like the whole drum industry, just some of the vibe within it, it's like odd. Like I don't totally gel with it. There's nothing bad about it. It's just, it's kind of weird. It's like when everybody gets together to have beers after a trade show or whatever, I'm kind of the guy that goes off and does his own thing.
Yeah.
So it's a culture is my point. What's your experience been like with the whole drum endorsement, drum world thing?
Huh. That's a really good question. So it's really funny when excuse me, when I was younger, I was watching all these people on YouTube and Instagram and whatever. Oh my God, this person got a free drum set. They didn't say they was free. I was stupid and young and thought everything was free. And oh my God, I want to be endorsed. That's all I want. And for a while I dreamed of it. I said, I just want free sticks and cymbals and drums and stuff. And then one day I said, I started focusing on practicing. And my mom said, it'll come. Just wait. And about, I think probably a year before anything came, and actually you were the first. Meinl gets the ticket for being the first to jump on the Greyson train. And in all honesty, and I mean this in the best way possible to all companies, I stopped caring almost at all about the gear. And that's the truth. I stopped, do I think, am I going to be a sellout? No. I'm not going to say that this product is the best product I've ever heard just because you told me to do that. I'm going to say it if I really believe it. So, there's elements within that I care about. Maybe it's, variants of products, or maybe your customer service, or the way if you answer your phone, or even gear-wise, if your products hold up. But at the end of the day, I stopped caring about, oh my God, I really want a 10-inch snare instead of an 8 because, my world is ruined. I stopped caring about that. I stopped caring about what pedal tension I was using. Those little things, I was like, I don't care. And then once I started getting into the whole endorsement thing, it came slowly and it came one by one. I've got nothing but respect from people. The biggest thing is I've had situations where the vision looking forward has to be present rather than this is what I'm doing now. Meaning, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing, not this is what I'm doing now, so this is what I should be offered, if you know what I mean. That plays a big key role. But I think, the biggest thing I can say is to all those younger drummers, or even, I don't want to say this, but I will. I think it's kind of sad sometimes when I see people comment on my video or reposts, well, why did this person get signed? Oh, I'm going to DM Chris Brewer at Meinl so I can get a Meinl Cymbals endorsement. Oh, I need to be endorsed. Or I can't, there's so many comments, variations of those comments. And I always wished I could tell them, listen, it's an amazing thing to work with companies that support you, but don't blame your playing or your skill or your gigs because you had the wrong cymbal or the wrong snare drum or you couldn't afford it, so you need an endorsement. Don't. And the last thing you want to do is go beg for them. Or you also don't want to jump companies just because, you know? I feel like there needs to be... I think the biggest thing is understanding from both people's point of view that it's not just one-sided. I think there can be situations where companies kind of put people on totem poles, which of course there is, which it needs to be. But there also needs to be elements of, you know, I've gotten treated nothing but respect from all my companies and support completely. But at times, there's, you know, not everyone's on the same level, clearly, of, you know, exposure and stuff. But I feel like it would be better to have people more equal than just add on 1,000 new artists a week sometimes. You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. There's been times where there's been guys or gals that I would like to bring on board, and I've actually had to say, hey, look, I don't want to spread myself too thin because I mean, I literally will type this out to somebody and I'll say there's existing artists within our roster, and then there's potential people such as yourself, not you, Greyson, but the person I'm typing to. And I'll say, it's not fair to either one of you if I put you in the position where I can't take care of you the way you deserve to be taken care of. And I would rather people not be made to feel like, I mean, back in the day, I don't know if they do it now, but there were companies that actually say, okay, you have a bronze level deal. This guy's got a silver level. Yeah, I mean, what, horse hockey. I mean, I can't imagine a way to completely just like immediately, like you get the relationship started off and right away someone's classified and subsequently sort of denigrated. And okay, so I'm a third class citizen here in your company.
Yeah, I get an email once a week, but once a year.
Right, and it's I would rather not do that. It's like, okay, yes, there could be differing levels of gear support contingent upon certain factors, and that's just the way it goes.
That's business. That's business.
People have budgets, but if we're talking about being human with one another, no, I'm not going to be more upbeat and bubbly on the phone with this person than I will with this person.
That's why you are Chris Brewer at Meinl.
And if you call, I will answer for you just like I answer for that person. And I mean, don't get me wrong, none of us are perfect. We all have our bad days when maybe we're a little grumpier than we should be. But yeah, no, I mean, I was just curious basically about how the experience has been. It's interesting what it segued into where you talked about people bemoaning their lack of being able to get an endorsement or whatever. So that's interesting. Now, I've got a few more things I wanted to run by you before we call it a day with this podcast, but I'm curious, when you want to step away from drumming and you want to zone out on something else, what is that thing? Is it, I mean, literally, and I'm talking about zone out, where you just don't, you know, for some people, it's reading a trashy magazine like People, or for some people, it's like watching the Kardashians. For some people, it's a cooking show or someone that's a science fiction novel. What do you geek out on or just kind of zone out on in order to come back refreshed?
Well, if we're not talking about running or working out or all right, it's either cooking, which sounds funny, but it's true. Cooking or watching or listening to podcasts. So Joe Rogan is like the number one on the list. Every day, or Joey Diaz, any of those guys, I'll go for a walk or a run. I'll put one of those podcasts on and zone out. I don't care about the Instagram. I don't care about drums. I'll just do my thing. And it really helps because it kind of puts everything back into perspective of like, all right, I'm going outside. I'm going to nature because there's a nice nature like preserve park where I live. And I'll go and I'll run through there, listen to a podcast, completely zone out, cook something, and then get the work done. But I kind of don't, today was an exception. Like, I woke up and the first thing I did was get ready to film a video. And that never happens. Usually it's like, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to eat something, work out, whatever, and just zone out. And then, okay, now it's time to work. Now work, afternoon, whatever, morning, afternoon. But I kind of delegate amount of times, I'll just, okay, I'm leaving. Bye. Shut the door. Bye. Before dinner. Bye. I'm leaving, going out. I'm going to zone out. But I think it's really important. I really do.
Yeah. No, I agree. Do you have time for friends? Or
that's one of the biggest things, Chris. So I talked about this in, I think it was the Drumeo Gab podcast with Seamus, and it got a lot of backlash. It was funny. I talked in that podcast about sacrifice of that. And a lot of people respected it, and other people were saying, oh, he's immature, he's too young. All right, whatever. When I was in high school, after that, I was never a big, hangout person, party person, never. But, because I dealt with, as I talked about in the other podcast, a lot of illness in my life, and I was out of school for a long time. So I never got into the clique and the groups and whatever. But when I was back and, my health was back up to going to school regularly and playing drums, everything was kind of like average, for me, normal high school kid life, till that whole school thing happened with the whole college thing. When that happened, I said, all right, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to work my butt off. And so during lunch, I would go to the practice room. Before school, well, actually, I didn't have, in high school, I didn't have a first period, so I'd come in a little late. My dad dropped me off, and I'd go practice before my first class, and then lunch I'd practice, and I'd go home, and I'd work out, and I'd practice, and I'd make a video, and then I kind of realized, I have a couple close friends, and the biggest thing for me was, and I made this a conscious effort, was, it sounds funny, but I said, and my parents always joke, it's like whiplash. I said, I don't want to sound selfish, but I don't want to be distracted. Because I have a lot of opportunities coming. I have a lot of work. I have a lot of things I need to get settled in my own life, in my own career, in my own life as a person. And I have a lot of things I need to figure out for myself before I start worrying about, hey, I need to go get a girlfriend. I need to go hang out every Friday night. Now, I think there's balance. Definitely balance is important. But at the end of the day, there's sometimes you need to make sacrifices. Right now, and I think also there's phases, there's times where you can, it might be times of the year, it might be years of time or months, you know what I mean? There might be chunks of months where you don't really have anything going on, you can go hang out more. But for me, it's really about keeping I keep a very tight circle of friends, a couple close friends that I've known for many years. But I try to not, I'm a very drama-free person. Drama stresses me out. I don't care for drama. I'm not into that. So I kind of keep it low-key, keep it quiet. I'm not like a hermit, but I just, I'm fine. I just work. I live my life. I work. I have fun. In my free time, and I think it's a good balance right now. Yeah.
No, I mean, dude, I call it driven.
It is driven. It is.
Yeah.
And my dad always jokes, and my mom, she's like, go. My dad's like, go have fun. I'm like, I'm having fun. I work out, I eat, I talk to a couple friends, but, it's almost like the thing of, stupid as it sounds, like, I'm not really interested in getting involved in, say, like a long-term relationship when I don't even know what I'm doing in a month from now.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like those little sacrifices that sometimes you need to make.
Dude, there's a really healthy sense of a monasticism that you seem to be living. Mm-hmm. And I think that that is in and of itself a really great experience. I mean, to really drill down to a few fundamental elements and keep it at that, your ability to experience more than most people is so there because you're not spreading yourself too thin.
But it also brings like that's brought a lot of judgment from others, which I found was really interesting. I like to kind of, I don't want to say like, I like to understand what people think about things. If that means anything, I kind of viewed what that meant to other people around me. Now, the close friends that I have, they're 100%, 1,000% supportive. And I could talk to them tomorrow and not talk to them for a month, and we'd be best friends. I had other people in my life who, oh my gosh, you didn't text me for 3 days. Do you hate me? It's like, I'm busy. And that was the kind of thing I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm single. It was the kind of thing of some people unfortunately don't understand that, that, hey, I'm 18, but yeah, I work. I have a thing going. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to work as hard as I can while I'm young. And, if you want to be on the ride for me, if you want to be on my little, cheerleader squad with my family, sure.
I mean,
my family's there. I have close friends, but I keep it close.
Well, I would say to anybody who's listening who is young and maybe hasn't figured this part out, they're probably not going to want to hear what I have to say. They're probably not going to care. They won't even understand it because on a fundamental level, it's very hard for them to. You're a rare exception. But I would say while you're young, able, your brain is there, your commitments are very few, you have nothing tying you down. I would say, number one, keep it so you have nothing tying you down. Don't have a car? Then don't get a car payment. Don't get a house payment. Don't get all these things that require you to do something you maybe don't want to do in order to hold all those things. If you're happy with your own self, or I should say, learn how to be happy with yourself.
Exactly.
Don't make your existence based off of someone else and what they think of you. And I would say put as many deposits in the bank as you can right now, because while you're healthy and young and have the ability to do it, later on in life, you don't really know what's going to come your way health-wise. You don't know what's going to come your way obligation-wise. And so as free as you can make yourself to handle those obligations at that time, or subsequently to just enjoy life when maybe your body slows down a little bit, if you've put all those deposits in the bank early on, and by that I mean things like hard work that maybe paid money that you then invested or whatever, later on you can enjoy it a lot more. And that's weird. Suddenly this became self-help hour.
Anyway. It's great. Those are some great points there.
But yeah, anyway, so, I had one last question for you, and because I was curious, it kind of sort of mirrors the first question I had in a way, but what area of drumming provided the biggest challenge to you, and it was something that couldn't be learned as quickly as the other areas, and what did you do, if anything, differently to tackle that?
Wow, that's a deep question. Huh.
And it's okay if there wasn't. I was just curious if there was.
Well, I have it. When I was younger, I watched all these other people playing. I was never a very, I was an average drummer. Just a normal developing drummer. I was always, the better one in band, whatever. But I would always watch videos, and I'd always say, oh my God, these kids are so fast. There's people I remember, there's a couple people I'd watch on YouTube who were around my age who were so fast. They were just lightning fast. I never understood it. And I said, I can read really well. I got amazing sight reading. I can transcribe. I can do this. I said, but I'm not fast. I'm just not fast. And there were two things that changed that, and actually both of them are going to ruffle people's feathers. And I feel like I'm the best at ruffling people's feathers. I don't know, it's funny.
That's a good thing, dude.
That is. So I'll start with the most important one, which this one's going to get people, that's all right. At that point, I had gotten over being ill, which that's a whole nother story if we want to get into that one day. And I was left being extremely, extremely overweight. I was probably, how old was I? Well, of course I wasn't fast when I was slow. I wasn't very fast when I was young, not slow. But now I think this age was probably 15 or so. I'm 18 now, so I think I was 15 or 14. I was left very, very overweight once I became healthy again. I was on a lot of medications that caused me to gain weight, etc., etc. I also wasn't caring about what I was eating. So I said, well, I'm going to lose weight just because I want to be healthy, I want to look better, all this stuff. So I started losing weight, and I started losing a lot of weight. And I remember, wow, I can move better. And I lost more weight, and I said, wow, I'm getting faster. And then the second part comes in, and then we go back to the losing weight. So the second part was, at that time I was, I'd already had match grip down, and I was starting to learn traditional. And I was taught both techniques by amazing teachers, of course, Justin with match, and another teacher by the name of Ed Balsamo on traditional. And Justin's techniques were very open. He was just, he taught me the basics of how to not get injured, and then you take it from there. But then I threw away almost everything that I learned on traditional. And the reason that was is because I was taught, and it's very hard to explain over a podcast with no visuals, but I was taught, you use your wrist, your whole wrist, and, you keep it pretty low to the drum. It's kind of like concert, orchestral percussion. And to people who don't play traditional, that's a pretty uncomfortable position, because you can imagine your arm is flexed and you're only moving your wrist. And I thought, wow, my wrist is really slow. And I thought, I just have to practice to get my wrist faster. All right. Well, that didn't work. So I threw away that technique. I threw away anything anyone ever taught me, and I said, screw that. I'm going to learn what I want to learn. So I watched some Jojo Mayer videos. I watched some, who else? I watched some Buddy Rich videos, and kind of nobody's techniques work for me. I watched some Tom Yago videos, and he was talking about alternating between the thumb and the forefinger, the pointer finger, I should say. And that worked for me, and I said, I'm going to extend it. So for my traditional grip, I use mainly my thumb, pointer, middle, ring, and pinky. Literally, you'll see in the videos, I go down like a guitar string. It's crazy. It's crazy looking, I should say. It's a very interesting technique. And then my right hand, I've never been a fan of I use blah, blah, blah by a name stroke. I play. I just use my hand. I don't know. So I had to develop my own technique, basically, which we can get more in depth in another time. But that was one of the biggest things of, hey, again, I'm going to play the way I want to play, kind of that attitude. Then, once I got that technique stuff down, I realized, wow, the more I lose weight, the thinner I get, I'm getting faster. I started getting into running and cycling and all these other things, and man, I'm at probably my thinnest, and I'm at my fastest. Now, that's not to say lose weight infinitely at all. I'm not saying that at all. But there's something to be said for, it's easier to get around the drum set. There's no other way to say it. It's the truth. For me, I'll say it for me. It's a lot easier to get around the drum set being thinner than it is if I was really heavy again.
Yeah, well, I know you said that's the truth, and then you say for me, and I understand you're being polite because you don't want to presume that that's the way it is for everybody.
Exactly.
But from the outsider's point of view, I will say it sounds like common sense.
Yeah,
so.
it's like running a marathon. I mean, could somebody who's not trained and very, very overweight do it? Of course they could do it. But it's going to be a lot easier if you lose some weight because you're moving, you have less to move.
Yep.
You can run farther, And it's the same thing. I mean, I couldn't play these crazy fast endings of a song 5 years ago. Not only because I wasn't as developed of a drummer, but I didn't have the endurance. The amount of sweat pouring down. I couldn't stand that amount of physical stress back then.
Yeah.
No way.
No, I get it. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, dude, Greyson, I've taken up enough of your time, but I really have enjoyed our conversation, man. I really appreciate the time you've given us to speak and share your thoughts on everything. It's been great.
Chris, it's been an absolute honor to speak with you. I can't thank you enough for all your support, everyone at Meinl, everyone at all the companies, but really Meinl. Are we going to tease anything coming up, or we're going to leave that Up to,
Well, I have no idea when this podcast is going to come out. I assume it's going to, I really hope it comes out way before any of this other stuff. So let me just say that I'm looking forward to you being in Nashville here soon.
Oh, that's good enough. That's good. Yeah,
and
that's good.
I can't wait for everybody to see what we come out with.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to visit you. I can't wait to see everybody down there and visit another little place. We'll leave it at that.
Right on. Dude, thank you so much, Greyson.
You're the best.
Thanks for listening to Meinl Radio. If you liked this episode, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We would appreciate it very much. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.